Now, this next statistic is a bit of a shocker. There are 15 hate crimes being reported to police every single day at the moment, and that's shot up massively. And now there are calls for a new hate crime hotline in the West Midlands. The Conservative candidate for the West Midlands Police and Crime Commissioner wants it set up. Jay Singh-Sohal says there are 22% year-on-year increase, and that could just be the tip of the iceberg. And he joins me now. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning, Daz.
15 hate crimes a day on average in the West Midlands. So what do you think to that number?
I think it's outrageous, and I think something needs to be done about this. And it's gone up across the board as well. So when we're looking at hate crimes against people with disabilities, trans identity, race, religion, all those statistics are shocking, and all those numbers of incidents are up. And quite frankly, something needs to be done, and we need that leadership from the top of policing now to take this seriously and do something about it. It's not acceptable in our modern Britain, in our civil society, to tolerate or to allow people to be, experience such hate crime because of their identity. And one of the reasons why I stepped into the race to become Police and Crime Commissioner is to tackle these sorts of crimes, which just should not be allowed to happen in this day and age.
So you're suggesting a hate crime hotline. So just talk me through your vision for that.
Yes, so this is actually something that's been piloted in Sussex, and a hate crime incident line, as well as a safe space where victims of hate crime can go, I believe is a good way of ensuring we're getting the reporting, the support required with the counselling behind it to those people who are affected by hate crime. And certainly one of the things I want to do with the hotline is ensure that it is staffed by people who are multilingual, so that if it's race, religious motivation behind it, and English might not necessarily be either their first language or the language that they would prefer speaking to someone in, there is someone on the other side who can speak to them in their mother tongue. But also it creates that empathy as well, that understanding that actually the other person on the other side who I'm speaking to, who I'm reporting this crime to, will understand my point of view and will understand where I'm coming from, because we're seeing so many hate crimes now going up because of race and religion. But also it will help build that confidence in policing, that someone is there to listen and to take this seriously. And one of the issues that we're seeing now, even though we speak about these updated statistics, 18 incidents a day now, it's gone up since last year from up by 17.5%. But in all these incidents, what we know and what I often hear about anecdotally, and I see myself as a practicing Sikh, is that a lot of incidents aren't being reported purely because people just don't know either how to do it, or they don't have that trust that something will be done about it.
Now, no one should be a victim of hate crime, no one. But would a hotline be any different? Would it serve any different purpose to phoning 999 or 111?
Yes, it would. So firstly, it's about getting the right level of support to those people who are affected by hate crime, but it's also the support measures around the hotline. So I mentioned the safe space, where we can get the counselling and the level of support to people who are affected by it, given what sort of hate crime they might be exposed to, whether it's because of a disability, visible or invisible disability, or indeed because of race, as I say, religion, their trans identity or sexual orientation. But also it's everything we can do around it as well. So part of that bubble, if you like, is about the reporting and the auditing that the Police and Crime Commissioner should be commissioning and doing, looking into these crimes, making sure that the statistics are reflective of actually what's going on, and also that the police are held to account for these issues, and we get regular reporting back to the communities to say, look, something's being done about it. So the Police and Crime Commissioner is there as a representative of the communities to hold the force to account. And one of the things I see when I look at these statistics, more than 6,700 incidents, if you want to give it a number, over the past year, is actually, well, what is being done? You know, I often hear anecdotally, and I often hear stories about people who say, the police just didn't respond, and we need to hold them to account because,
Jay,
it's not acceptable.
Jake, I've got to ask you that. I mean, look, this vision of the hate crime hotline, you said it would be fully manned as well. So we know that money's tight, and there's been a lot of, obviously, cuts to policing over the last few years. So where would the money come from for this?
I'm glad you said that, because, look, we talk about the budget in policing, and Labour often talk about or money being tight and the cuts. But the fact is, West Midlands Police is £629 million. That's how much money is raised from the central grant, from government, as well as how much we pay in our precepts. So for me, it's about prioritisation. It's about ensuring that that level of funding, which is vast for the second largest force in England, is going into the areas where it can be most effective in tackling crime. And certainly with my plan, with the government investment that we're seeing with extra police officers, I do want to see an increase in police presence on the streets. But also I want to prioritise issues such as hate crime, such as tackling knife crime. And we can do that by using those resources more effectively. We've got central government funding into the Violence Reduction Unit. We've got commissioning services that the Police and Crime Commissioner does as well. So for me, it's not about, okay, where can we look around for the money? It's about actually how can we prioritise to be able to tackle issues that need tackling. And certainly hate crime is on top of my agenda.
Sorry, Jay. Now, the thing you've said that's interested me is you said these are the figures, but not all people are coming forward. But could it actually be the figures have gone up because more people are coming forward and the current system is actually fit for purpose and is working?
I can accept that as well, and I believe that, look, there are people who are feeling they can now report this, but I often hear quite a lot about not having the ability to come forward and report it, not knowing where to go. And I'll reflect upon my own background. I hear a lot from my own community, within the Sikh community, about race-related and religious-related hate crimes, and the sense that, you know, if we go to the police, nothing's going to be done about it. Where do we report it, and how do we get our issues addressed? And therefore, within my own community, we often discuss this all the time. You know, it's difficult to encourage people to come forward and have the faith and trust that their case will be looked into. And that's the difficulty. So, yes, I do believe that a lot of these issues are still hidden, but we do need to create faith and trust within policing.
Sure.
And the way to do that, I believe, is by having that strong leadership from the top of the PCC.
Okay, and you're actually having a meeting with someone later, aren't you, as well, about who's actually been, who's actually got issues and who's actually got experience of what you've been talking about?
Yes, so I'm hosting a call later for National Hate Crime Awareness Week, speaking about the rising hate crime and what the PCC should do in order to engage the communities about my approach to tackling hate crime. And one of our key speakers who's stepped forward to bravely speak about her experience will outline exactly what she went through and the police response she got. And I know it's going to bring up quite a lot of other people to speak about their issues as well. I've had quite a lot of speakers and people interested from within the Chinese community within our region who are taking part in particular, because we've seen race-related hate crimes against Chinese people post-COVID and lockdown rising as well. And similarly, just as I spoke about the Sikh community, you know, there are plenty within the Chinese community who just don't know where to take their concerns.
Jay Singh-Sohal, Conservative candidate for the West Midlands Police and Crime Commissioner, speaking to BBC Radio WM this morning, and you heard it there, calling for a hate crime hotline.